Major flooding is occurring across numerous rivers of eastern Victoria, and of particular concern are the towns of Sale, Bairnsdale and possibly even Wangaratta. Now, looking at those flood warnings in more detail, we can see many rivers experiencing minor to moderate flooding, and even a few in these red areas experiencing major flooding. Now, looking at some of those rivers right now, firstly, we can see the McAllister River experiencing major flooding, and that feeds into the Thomson River and likely to impact Sale later today. We're also experiencing major flooding on the Mitchell River, and that's likely to impact the Bairnsdale area as we get into this evening and overnight hours. Now, further north on the other side of the ranges, on the Ovens River, we're also experiencing major flooding there, and that could impact the town of Wangaratta. Now, let's look at all of this flooding in a little bit more detail, looking at our flood gauges. So you can see a number of our flood gauges on numerous rivers currently experiencing minor, moderate, and even a few experiencing major flooding right now. Now, looking at some of these rivers in more detail, firstly, let's look at the McAllister River, where we've seen river levels well and truly above the major flood level, shown here in this red line. Now, we are starting to see that river level fall now, but we've still got a lot of water moving through this system. Now, that then will still further flow downstream into the Thomson River, where we're just starting to see a response now on the river levels there. And all that water is likely to see major flooding tonight into the early hours of tomorrow at Sale. And that could lead to inundation of homes, properties, businesses, and inundation of agricultural land. So please, if you live in this area or know someone that does, stay up to date with the latest forecasts and warnings and all advice from emergency services. Now, another river further to the east is the Mitchell River. Again, we can see very large river rises there overnight and during today. And we've just crossed the major flood level at Glenledale, and we could see that peak in excess of 6 metres, and that's going to be higher than the August 2011 flood that fell just shy of that. Now, all that water is going to continue to flow downstream of the Mitchell River and then impact the Bairnsdale area as we get into the evening and overnight hours, and we're definitely starting to see the response there in floodwaters. So this is another town and community that needs to stay on high alert today and tonight with these rising floodwaters. And finally, the other side of the divide, we're definitely seeing the water level starting to increase along the Ovens River. And later today, more so into tonight, we could see the major flood level being approached at the Wangaratta area. So if you live on or near any of these rivers, creeks and streams, it's important to stay up to date with the latest forecasts and warnings as these flood waters continue to move further down. Now, looking at some of these weather in the coming days that impact these areas. So the system that's brought all that heavy rainfall through much of central and eastern Victoria has thankfully moved offshore this morning and will continue to race away further out into the ocean, leading to an easing of rain and wind through parts of eastern Victoria. Now, behind this system, we do see a weaker weather system moving through, and that will bring some light showers into the overnight hours, but thankfully not going to lead to any heavy falls that could exacerbate already flood-affected areas. And then a large high-pressure system should move in for the weekend, giving us a sustained period of fine and dry weather. But remember, even if the rain has stopped, flooding will continue to move that downstream of our flood-affected rivers. So remember, if you live in parts of eastern Victoria or know someone that does, please stay up to date with the latest forecasts and warnings via our website, app and social media, and listen to all advice from emergency services as we see a number of towns likely to see a major peak tonight into tomorrow.